All right. How is everybody doing? It's a beautiful, hot, humid Tuesday. Where I am, I'm in Nashville, Tennessee. I'm Garrett Browne, CIO of Channel Program. We're going to do demo days with Factorial HR. And I have here with Victor Sengpiel with me from Factorial. How you doing, man? Where are you?
I'm doing fantastic. Hot and humid is right because I'm located down in sunny Miami, so definitely
Oh,
feeling the heat down here as well.
oh yeah. Just walk outside. You're sweating already. Yeah, just a bucket of water on you.
Exactly. You never know if it's the rain or just the sweat, but either way.
Yeah. It's back in the day in college. I used to love getting out and running in the humidity. Just felt like you were working out and stuff. But now I'm like, oh, keep me away from it. um, well, thank you for your time today. And this is something I've been looking forward to because you guys do HR, for MSPs, and HR, in my experience, is is definitely a whole nother world to work with. You have compliance, you know, you have all kinds of stuff dealing with payroll. You have um, things like people want to the poll, they want to have their voices heard, and HR is difficult. And this is why I'm fascinated, because HR is one of those things. As I've always said, that a lot of MSPs are sort of not they're accidental business people, because they go to the office and, oh, I have a technical solution for your problem, and then they're learning the business as sort of an afterthought. And then at some point you get ahead, and then so HR is one of those afterthoughts of like, oh, now that I'm growing, I probably need to look in that, even become more than just a solutions provider as my focus. So yeah, man, I'm interested. So yeah, take it away. Tell us more about Factorial.
Yeah, no, thanks for having us. I'm very excited to explain a little bit about what we do and the types of problems that we help solve. Like I said, I think HR is a little bit of an underrated topic in the MSP space. Obviously it's not business critical, but I think still, to really build a thriving business, a thriving MSP, it's something that it's worth investing in. So I'm happy to share a little bit more about how we can help with that. So really today, I want to focus on two aspects, right? Like, how can MSPs build a killer team, and then how can you save time managing it? I wanted to start with just a little bit of background on who we are at Factorial, right? So we really are, an all-in-one HR platform designed specifically for small and medium-sized businesses, right? We were born out of Barcelona, Spain, 8 years ago, and have expanded since. In our office in Miami, we also have offices in Mexico and in Sao Paulo, and have grown to over 11,000 companies using us, with over 650,000 active users, spread throughout 60 countries. So we really are a global solution. And all of that has netted us a 1 billion valuation. And I'm not only putting that there to brag, even though it's always a nice number to mention to have that unicorn status. It's really to emphasize the fact that, we're a dynamic product, right? This is not a software that will stay the same for the next 5 years, right? We have 300 engineers on our product team. We constantly evolve. We constantly put new features in the product, and we listen to our customers. Most of the features that I'll show you today were originated by suggestions that our clients had. So we really listen, and we really build on what our clients want.
I'm sorry, did you say you have 300 engineers?
Yes.
Ooh, okay.
Pretty
All right. That's all right. I have other thoughts, but go ahead.
Exactly. So that's just a little bit on us. And really, like I said, we aim to be all-in-one HR. So really managing the entire employee lifecycle, right? From the moment you want to recruit someone, to onboarding them, to then developing them, making sure they perform the right way, and that you keep them around, right? I think a crucial aspect And then even if they decide to leave, that you offboard them the right way. So really the entire employee lifecycle can be managed in Factorial. Today, I really want to focus on 3 questions, though, specifically here for MSPs, right? How do I find top talent, first of all, right? We all know with the current job market, it's not as easy to find high-skilled technicians. So how do I find the right people to grow my MSP? 2, once I have them, how can I manage them day to day, right? How do I track my operations without wasting huge amounts of time on data entry? And then 3rd, how do I make sure my employees don't burn out? I think, right, this is something that maybe doesn't get talked enough about in our industry, right? That it's a big risk because it's a challenging job, right? Just solving problems all day. And I'm sure you have experience with that as well.
Well, I mean, when I own my own company, I know some of the guys get burned out, and I was always like, "Hey, talk to me," and but it does get talked about. It's just not it's always in the eyes on the radar of the owners and things like that. So it's definitely talked about, like on places like Reddit and different forums. So I'm very interested in that because that's a very real thing, So yeah.
Absolutely. All right. Well, with these 3 questions in mind, I would say let's jump right into the product here, and let's see how we can help with these solutions. So here, this is Factorial. Welcome to the platform. The first thing you'll always see when you log in is this dashboard, which just gives you an overview of some of the most important information. We'll dive more into these different panels and the modules that they link to in a second. One really important thing, I think, to clarify, first of all, is that really the Factorial platform, like most HR platforms, is built around the idea of self-service, right? So this is really a platform designed for every single employee to log on to have access to. And that's reflected here on the left as well in our navigation bar, right? You have this use section where every single person who logs into the platform will be able to manage their own documents, their own data, and enter things for themselves. And then the second section, your company section, this is more for the administrators, right? This is where you manage the processes. This is where you gather the data from all the individuals. And this is something where, we have a very strong permission system. So in the end, you can decide who, gets access to each of these modules and who can see which piece of information, right? Because obviously there is sensitive information, especially in HR, that you don't want the entire company to see. What's good noting here as well, 2 things. We are completely cloud-based, so this is a SaaS solution, a monthly subscription based on the number of employees that you have. And 2, we are completely modular. So all these different beautiful modules that you see here, you're essentially able to pick and choose. So you can really start with Factorial with just what you need if you have a specific need, and then, mix and match and grow or shrink over time. Awesome. With that out of the way, I would say let's go directly into the first question that we kind of wanted to address today, right? Which is just, how do I even find top talent and build a good team to begin with, right? Oftentimes, when I talk to MSPs, it's really, they use one of the big job portals, right? They post on LinkedIn maybe, or they post on Indeed, and then just kind of get their applicants through there and manually follow up until they find a good candidate. But obviously, that's a very manual process. It's a lot of emails that you have to send out, a lot of calls that you have to schedule. So Factorial actually makes that a lot easier. So we have a complete applicant tracking system here in our platform, where you are able to create job openings right here in the platform. Let's say, for example, I'm looking for a field technician. This is also worth noting. We are able, since we are a global company, to support multiple legal entities, multiple countries, multiple offices. So whatever your internal organizational structure might be, we are able to replicate that. Awesome. And yeah, you can create a job posting on here just like you would on any of the big job boards that I just mentioned. Everything from the basic information here. Also, obviously the type of agreement, if it's a temporary position, a contractor role or a permanent position, the salary. And this is actually one really cool part here. You can use our AI that we've developed in collaboration with the Microsoft Copilot team, actually, to craft job descriptions, so you don't have to waste precious time coming up with something on your own.
So, if you don't mind me jumping in, how did that create that? Is it knows who you are, and just by the job title, it just takes those, because you didn't put a description in. You're just kind of saying, here's what I am, here's the location, here's what I'm looking for, and it creates it from there.
Exactly. Yes. So it takes that information from the job title and everything you put above, and then just some general information it has about your company.
That's cool. That's a time saver.
Yes, it definitely is. Exactly. And beyond the simple kind of formalities of the job posting, obviously you can also customize the whole application form itself. Pose questions that you want to ask for, if you want a CV or a cover letter, for example. And you can also customize the whole hiring process, right? So you can essentially create the different steps that you want applicants to go through, and just define those very clearly. And the reason why I really recommend doing this is because then you can use what we call smart actions. Essentially, you can create different templates, for example, for a rejection email or an email congratulating someone if they've moved to the next interview phase, right? And then you can automatically move candidates within that pipeline that you have, and it will send out those emails. So you don't have to send out 30 emails to 30 people you want to interview. The system will do that for you, and you save a whole lot of time managing this. Awesome. And then once you're ready to publish a job, once you've kind of defined all these different things, you just click here, and then you can publish it. First of all, to your own internal job board. So Factorial will create a job board that you can embed on your website, for example. But we integrate with all the big job boards out there. So LinkedIn, Indeed, Join, which links to over 100 job boards. So really, you can publish this very widely to really get your job out there without having to go into every single platform and create that same job in all these different places.
When you click on preview, what is that? Does that show you the Factorial job page, or what does that show?
Yes, exactly. So if we just quickly go here and it didn't save the description, but let's put the description.
Oh, I'm sorry. It's messy. Oh, you got to put, okay. Yeah, if you have to build everything out, don't worry about it. I was just curious.
Oh, good. So let's just quickly save the description so it looks a little nicer. And then if we click preview,
okay.
Let me switch my screen here. This is how it would look. This is how the job posting on your internal job page would look like then. You have all these things, and then people could just apply right here and fill out all their information.
Gotcha. All right, cool. So when they apply, would it still say Factorial or?
No, so that's completely white labeled, of course. So you would have your logo and your brand there.
That's cool. All right, I like that.
Exactly.
Go ahead. Sorry.
Awesome. Yeah, and then once you publish a job, you can go into one of the ones that I've already promoted here. All the applicants that apply through all the different job boards also get centralized back into Factorial, right? So you have a good, easy overview of everyone coming in, right? It's not like you have to check all these different platforms, which also means that you won't miss anyone coming in, right? And it's very easy to spot, okay, these are the high profile talents that I want to reach out to right away, that I don't want to, leave waiting for a week or two. So we have all the applicants here. For each one, we can see which phase they're currently in, which date they were added on the source. And we also have this initial rating, which is, again, our AI, just reading all the applications and giving you an initial idea of who might be a good fit. And then once we want more information, we just go into each of these. And here we'll see everything centralized, right? All the documents, for example, the resume that they've uploaded. The AI, again, will give a summary here of everything, so you don't have to read through every cover letter, everything in much detail. Just get a quick idea of how well they're suited. And then you can also message them directly from here if you so choose, and always see all the previous communication you had with these applicants. So
just because I have a experience with messaging people through like LinkedIn and Indeed and all that. If I'm posting this to Indeed in LinkedIn, say they came from Indeed, whatever, this chat, is it coming directly from Factorial, or is it somehow showing in Indeed, or what does that look like, if you don't mind me asking?
So it would show directly in Factorial. So you would just publish it, like I said, from Factorial. The integration would push it out to Indeed. It would show on Indeed's website, and anybody who would apply through there would then be exactly one of the applicants that I showed before, right? They would show up here, and then it would say as the source Indeed.
Okay. All right. Cool.
Exactly. Funnily enough, that's also actually how I applied. I applied through LinkedIn for Factorial, and then got into the system here without me knowing at the time, but was able to see that after the fact.
So you have some hands-on experience, huh?
Yes. Yeah. Clearly it works. Amazing. Yes. So that's how you you can see all the applicant information very easily. And once you're ready to hire someone, that is very easy as well. You just move them to the phase, hire it here, and then you can create the employee for the system right from here. So the system will take all the information you already have from their application, and you just go here and can put them into the system right away. And what we can do, which is one of the great features of Factorial, is we have customized onboarding workflows. So you can assign an onboarding workflow to them, which then means that it will create a series of tasks, both for the new hire as well as for you as the administrator, so that you can make sure that all the required legal steps that you have to do before the first day are done ahead of time, right? And nothing gets missed.
I like that. That's sick. I like that. Just now, does this, if you don't mind me asking, maybe show it later, but when you're adding them, does this at some point allow you to create, say, Connected 365 or Google to create an email for them from here?
So it cannot directly create an email for them, but we do have integrations with a lot of different platforms where the user information can get sent over. One big example, I think in the MSP space, for example, we have an integration with Microsoft Azure, so that user information gets sent over there, and you have it in your Azure system.
Okay.
Or in anything, it's like Microsoft Teams, for example, also all the different systems you might be using.
Okay. All right.
Awesome. All right, and that's in general how you can recruit top talent through Factorial. One more good thing that I want to show here is that we have this Insights tab. That's something in general. We at Factorial, we are absolute data nerds. We want to put analytics into everything that we do. So here, for example, in the recruiting tab, you have some valuable metrics, right, on how your recruiting is currently doing, right? You have how much time it takes you to hire people. In general, how many job openings you have and how it's been going, right? You can see the funnel here of how people progress through the different stages of your hiring process, also the time per stage. And then beyond that, you also have a breakdown of the sources, right? So for example, if you want to promote your job on one of the platforms. Here, it can give you an idea, okay, what is the job board where currently I'm finding the most talent, right? Where is the platform where it might be valuable for me to invest some money in? And you also have a parity breakdown, right? So this is obviously for compliance reasons very important that you can show, for example, how your gender distribution is, both when it comes to the applicants that come in and the hiring itself.
I like the sources part. It's really good for us to know, where to spend our money. That's it's really good to see that.
Yes, no, that's in the end what we want to do here, right? We want you to have all the information at your fingertips to make informed business decisions, because we believe that in the end will allow you to take care of your people in the best possible way. Awesome. So we've covered the first of the 3 questions. Now, we found an amazing employee. We fired them. What's next, right? What we've often seen in conversations with MSPs is, right, 2 things, especially when they have field technicians, for example, that they want to track, is the hours that people work, especially for the different clients, how their hours are split. Also the location where they work, if they are moving in the field. And third of all, a lot of field technicians oftentimes have expenses, right? What are their expenses? How much are they spending? And have some visibility on that. Obviously, if an MSP has a PSA, those features are technically included in there. But even for most PSA systems, those processes are very manual, right? Of entering the data. It requires a lot of work from the administrator's side to make sure that everything's accurate. So here in Factorial, we do have a time tracking feature and an expense feature as well, which both of you I'd love to show. And it's both at a fraction of the cost of what a PSA would be. So if you're looking for these specific features, here you can get them in a very easily manageable way. So for example, for clocking in and clocking out, right? It's really just the push of a button. You can do that either from the desktop or also from our mobile app. Most of the features that you see here in the platform are available on mobile as well. And actually, a third of all our users are using Factorial through their app.
This is cool. I like this. This is definitely come in handy for some boots on the ground, people out at locations, things like that. So PSAs come in handy, but this seems a lot easier to just dive into it and be done.
Exactly. And it's really, every single employee can just clock in and clock out, and you have some ways of controlling that they're actually doing the work that they say they're doing. So 2 of the most popular methods that we have is geolocation and geofencing. Geolocation just meaning that whenever they clock in, their location is tracked and is saved even after the fact. So you could even go in at the end of the day as an administrator and look, okay, where was my field technician actually moving around? What was their route for the day? Or geofencing, if you want someone in a more stationary position, right? You can just have a certain area defined where they are allowed to even clock in and clock out. We can even do that, if we, for example, have 3 or 4 clients that we know that our technicians are always traveling in between. They can clock in from those different sites, but are only able to clock in once they're actually at those sites.
So basically, I can geofence a job site beforehand, and as soon as they get there, start tracking them.
Yeah, exactly.
All right, that's sweet. I like that. I like that.
Exactly, and it's really, really easy. What's also really cool is that you can assign the hours that you've worked to different projects. So that allows you, to then mark, okay, this amount of time I spent for this client, for example, or this specific project that we're dealing with right now, and really have a very accurate timesheet. Awesome. So that's on the time tracking part. And the other part that I mentioned with the expenses, right? Again, something that's quite easy to do, especially with our mobile app. You can just take a picture of any receipt. The system will automatically scan it and upload it. And well, if you have a PDF, you can do the same on a laptop. So here, for example, I have this invoice that I want to submit. The system just will read it very quickly, automatically fill out all the information here. I can even, assign it to a project that I've been working on, and then I will send it for approval. And as the administrator beforehand, I can, send out, I can set up different approval workflows. So for example, if I first want a team leader to approve an expense, and then, the head of operations, maybe I'm able to set those up in any way I want.
You said, like I'm working on a project, things like that. Is that something I manually enter, or you have to create projects in here, or is this something I could integrate with say a PSA or a project tracking tool or anything like that?
So great question. We have our own projects module here where you can define all the projects that you're currently working on, and for each of these track hours and track costs as well. So let's go into this one, for example, which, if I ever was a construction firm, I have a construction project. I can go into here. I can easily always see, the amount of hours worked on this project, the costs registered to this project, which really comprise of two things, right? The expenses that have been submitted and just the wages, right? So based on the hours worked and the contract conditions that I know of each employee, the system will automatically calculate how much I've spent on this project. And it will even, calculate the current profitability, right? I can define beforehand, okay, this is how much I will charge the client for this project. And then it will automatically tell me, hey, how much I'm still in the green for this particular endeavor. And here, I just have more information on exactly how the registered hours have changed over time. I can also see a more detailed breakdown by which employee has worked how many hours on which days, or by sub-project. So we're able to define different sub-projects for each of these projects as well. And I can, see that breakdown as well. And you asked about the different integrations, right? So currently we integrate with some of the more general project management tools. So for example, Monday.com, Jira, things like that. We have some basic integrations there. We don't have it yet with specific PSA systems, but that's something we're looking into.
Cool.
Exactly. Awesome. So that's really how Factorial can save you a lot of time in just getting this information together on your day-to-day operations, right? Really, with this, your employees do the bulk of the work, right? They submit the expenses, they track their time. It's for you to just then go into the system, check if everything looks okay, and approve it. And then you'll have it reflected in here. And it's really, usually our clients save between 80 and 85% of their time with doing each.
I'll bet. I'll bet. I can see why. There's a lot of data here that, I can see having to go to other systems to sort of figure out. So this is cool.
Exactly. All right. With that out of the way, let's get to the last and probably the most important question, right? The question of burnout, and hey, how do I keep the awesome employees that I have that I'm managing well now? How do I keep them happy? How do I make sure that if something is going wrong, that I know about it, that I can take action, right? And obviously the first thing that we always recommend for companies coming to us with their problem is to start doing regular performance reviews. That is one of the easiest ways to just align with your employees regularly to make sure that everybody is on the same page, right? Factorial allows you to create a variety of different performance reviews, both the standard reviews where it's both the manager and the employee reviewing the employee, but you can also do it the other way around, where, for example, the employees review their manager, and you can even do peer reviews where employees evaluate each other. So all these options are here in the system. And if we go into one of these, I can show you exactly what that looks like. So for example, from a manager perspective, I would always just go in. I would have the different questions that I've set up beforehand, right? This could be a numerical evaluation. It could be a multiple choice, or it could just be a free-form answer. And I would just fill this out for every single one of my employees, and same with the employee themselves. Then once that's done, I can go in here and review the answers, right? And this is again where Factorial AI it's doing its magic. So the AI will automatically read performance reviews and give you an initial assessment of first what the performance of this employee was for the past quarter, for example, and also the alignment, right? Are you and the employee seeing eye to eye on what's going good, what's not going so great right now, or is there low alignment? You can go into more details here. And what the AI beyond those two metrics will also always tell you is what are the strengths of this employee, what are the areas to improve, and even suggest an action plan for the next steps for the next quarter, for example, what could be improved.
So sorry, so if I'm an employee and I'm doing that, the steps to improve, that's the AI generated sort of summary, right?
Yes.
So it's not really taking my actual words. It's just sort of summarizing it across what others are saying, everybody aggregate, so, okay. All right. That's cool. I like that.
Exactly. And then obviously this AI summary is good to get a quick overview, but then you can go here into what we call the action plan, where you can then see a more detailed breakdown. What we often recommend for companies is, right, that they sit down, manager and employee, and then go through these answers together, right, to really go into the depth of why did you answer it this way, what's going on, what can we improve, right? We just go through this. And then what's really cool here at the end of it, we can also define action items that we want to tackle in the next quarter, right? Any goals that we want the employee to accomplish, anything that we want to change. So we can all write this down here, make it very clear what the outcome of this performance review is. And then we're able to actually send this out for signature. So we both sign it, and it becomes, kind of like a binding document. Hey, this is what we talked about. This is what we want to do for the upcoming cycle. And obviously the past performance reviews also get stored in Factorial. So you'll always be able to refer back to, once the next quarter, for example, has closed, to then look at those.
You do like a performance review. Say it's your boss. Yeah. I want to be careful about what I say. Is it something where like it could be aggregate? You don't really know. It's just more of a, hey, here's what the team is saying. So, can they keep anonymous in some respects?
So for these performance reviews, really the idea is to have it be an open conversation, right?
Okay.
So just one-on-one. We have a tool to give anonymous feedback as well.
Okay.
Happy to cover that. Actually, let's jump over to that. That's here under the engagement module, right? Here's where I'm able to launch different surveys and other ways of asking my employees in a more anonymous way of how they currently feel about the company, right? So we have two standardized things here. One is a climate survey that we've put together with the help of some IO psychologists that go into different aspects of company culture, right? Everything from how employees feel recognized to how the leadership is doing, how they're being developed, how the team is working together, all these different aspects people get asked about, and it will then just give you a very comprehensive score out of 10 on how people feel about the organization.
That's cool. Yeah.
Yes. Similar to that, we also have what's called the ENPS scoring system, which is actually one of the easiest ways of measuring employee satisfaction. It's really only one question. On a scale from 0 to 10, how likely are you to recommend our organization as a workplace? And it's been scientifically shown that that's actually a very accurate measure of how happy employees are. So based on what they rank themselves here, they are categorized into three categories: promoters, passives, and detractors. And a healthy company will always have at least 80% in passives and promoters, so only 20% detractors. Exactly. So employees can fill this out, and then you'll see your eNPS score here. So 0 right now means I can see right here, right, that I have 50% detractors and 50% promoters, which is way more detractors that I would want. So ideally, a good eNPS would be a much higher positive score right here. Beyond that, if there's any other questions that I want to ask my employees, right, I can always create custom surveys. So I can just go in here, also, do it for a specific group, for example. And then, just like you would on, for example, a Google form, just create a survey on anything. And again, this can be anonymous or anonymous, depending on what type of survey I want to run. So it's really a very good tool to get the right feedback from your employees. Beyond that, if there's really serious cases, and that's something that some states, for example, California, even require from companies, is we do have a complaints channel. So if there's something serious that they want to report to leadership or to HR, for example, sexual harassment, they can do it anonymously through this channel, and the company can then take action.
That's cool.
Great. I wanted to go back into performance reviews, because beyond the traditional reviews, there's also 2 other features that we have in here to give you additional ways of kind of really understanding your employees and making sure you take good care of them, right? One is competencies. So for each employee, you can assign them different competencies, different skills that you expect them to, perform well on, and you can give them a score. This can be as part of a performance review, or it can be outside of that. So, we can keep track of the different skills that our employees have. What can we do with that data? 2 things. One, we have this so-called 9-box grid, which is essentially a matrix that allows us to compare different employees. So each of these dots here represents one employee, and I've, for example, selected different skills here, different competencies that are either related to their current performance or to their potential, for example, as a leader. And I can see the matrix here. So I can see, for example, that Jay and Catherine are both performing at the same level, but that Catherine seems to be a candidate or an employee with way higher potential. So if I'm, for example, thinking about promoting someone or making someone a manager, I can clearly see here that Catherine might be the better candidate for that role.
That's pretty cool. I like the I like the idea of the user. I'm assuming the user can change the different variables what shows in the grid.
Exactly.
Or is that just okay? The user can do it, or is just the admin, if I was the admin.
So that depends on the permissions. Usually it's the admin defining them, but you could open this up to every single employee if they want to.
That's cool. I like that. Cool.
Yes. The other thing, and that's something actually I haven't shown yet, is here the employee profile. So this is what once upon a time used to be the paper folder in some drawer, right? This is essentially where all the information about any employee gets centralized. And one of the informations here is actually on the competencies, right? So we can go in here and we see this nice little spider graph on the different competencies, and we can actually see how they've changed over time. So this is another nice way of visualizing an employee's growth within the company.
That's cool.
Exactly. Last piece of the performance module that is also very, very important is goal setting, right? We already saw that in the performance reviews where you can set goals, but even outside of that, if you want to keep track of the goals that you have within your organization, you can do that right here in Factorial, right? So you can define different goals. For example, I have a sales goal here, And then for each of these goals, I can, create different sub goals, different key results, and assign them to different people. So for example, if I want to keep track of, how my sales reps are doing, I can have them here enter how much they've sold for that period. And this will automatically update, and show me the progress that they've made and the progress of the overall goal, right? These can be quantitative goals, or it can just be, a qualitative goal that can just be achieved like that.
Is this something that can be integrated into, excuse me, sales tools, sales platforms, anything like that? Or is this sort of a standalone?
That's a great question. That's actually something we're also working on right now. This whole goals feature is very new. We only launched this about 3 months ago. But yes, the next step will absolutely be to connect this to all your CRMs, so you can have those metrics directly feed into here, and essentially use this as a tool to keep track of all the higher level goals of the organization.
Okay, it's good to know. I like that.
Amazing. And then last two things, smaller things that Factorial can also help you with to just make sure that your employees are happy, right? That you create a good internal company culture where people want to work. One is we have this kudos feature, which is just a very easy way of giving, spreading some positivity and giving people recognition if they've done a good job. And it will then create a leaderboard as well of the people who've received the most amount of kudos. And that's something we internally at Factorial use a lot. And to be honest, it's something that once you start, it becomes quite addicting, because people, start giving each other kudos, and everybody is kind of seeing who the leader for every given week is. So it just creates a very positive environment, right, where people are recognized, where we celebrate achievements together. That really helps people, be proud of the work that they do as well.
Are you able to is there like an awards system, like, hey, you did this, get a $25 gift card, or any integrations like that, or anything built in to that respect?
No. Okay. But obviously you could do that whatever leader you have at the end of every week, for example, you could give them a gift card, obviously.
Yeah. Okay, cool. Yeah.
And then lastly, going back to the dashboard here, if you scroll down a little bit, you have this community section here. We kind of call this our Factorial Facebook. It's really an internal platform where people can post different things, where you can, for example, if you're organizing a holiday party or any internal events, you can post about them. This will also automatically remind people of any work anniversaries and any birthdays. Also very important things, right, to make sure everybody feels recognized, everybody feels as part of the company. So it's another nice way of creating that sense of community within a company.
Awesome. So when you're doing this, a lot of people use Slack, Teams. Does this integrate with that, so you can sit here, or do you have to come back over here to see this?
So we don't have any integrations between the communities side of the thing of Factorial and Slack or Teams yet. So yeah, if you use a tool like that, you could obviously just use those as well.
All right, cool,
awesome. And that's the main things I wanted to cover, to have have our 3 questions answered of, hey, how do I get top talent? How do I make sure they're happy? And how do I save time doing all of that?
That's cool. I like this. So it's one of those things where, like, I see absences in your team, absences, it says no absences coming up. So if I'm an employee, I can see, hey, here are the federal holidays for my respective country that I'm in. Or how easy is it for me to come in here and say I need time off? Is it just oh, there it is. I'm sure the inbox says time off request is pending. All right, so I could basically see my time off, and okay. All right.
Exactly. Great question. Yeah, that's one of our modules that I didn't cover. It's the time off module. So this is what it would look like for every single employee if they want to request time off. They will always have this counter where they will see the days that they've accrued, the days that they've taken, and the days that they still have available, right? And this is just based on different time off policies. So for example, if you have different types of employees with different allowances for time off, you could define those on the back end, and then for the employees themselves, it would just show this counter.
I like this. It's very visual. I mean, everybody, that way you're not like, hey, what's the date? And then you look up on the calendar. Real quick, I just want to take a moment. For those of you who are watching, feel free to comment or ask a question. I can see all that, whether you're on YouTube or LinkedIn. So we will definitely be taking those. But kind of going back to this, I love this visual because this is something that, you go into some of these and, it'll say, whatever, Thanksgiving, November, like, and most people know what day Thanksgiving falls on, but it's nice to see where you are and what's coming up and what you've taken off. So I like this.
Yes, no, this is really one of our most popular features. I think about 83% of all companies using Factorial use the time off feature because it's just such an easy tool to have that overview.
And this is available on the app as well.
Yes, you can request time off through the app. Also, to quickly show how it would look like if you request time off, you can just select the type of absence. Here we have a lot of different pre-built ones, or you can also create custom ones. You can also even use this system for things like requesting remote work. So if there's a policy on, hey, if you want to work from home, you have to request this from your manager first. You can do that through the time off system as well. Exactly, and just select the date. Here, what we also can do for certain types of leave, for example, a sick leave, if I want, I can make it mandatory to upload a document, for example, a doctor's note before I approve any sick leave. And then I would just send this out for approval. And then from the administrative side, that would just pop up in my inbox. This is in general where all the actions that I would have to do inside the system will always be visible to me. And this is something we can also sync with your email or your text messages. So every time something new would pop up here, you would get a notification. And then here for any time off requests, you could just go in, see the details of it, right? Which days, and also see the overlap, right? This is something very cool as well, right? You can see, okay, is the rest of the team already on holiday on that day? Maybe I shouldn't give this person the day off on that specific day. Right, so you have all the information necessary to really make a quick decision and either approve or reject these requests.
So what, if you don't mind me asking, so I'm seeing my training. We hired earlier you showed how to hire somebody, how to create an employee. Is that the MUD training is something that they automatically go into that you can set up, or what does that look like?
Yeah, so that can actually be part of the onboarding workflow, or it can just be separate. So this is for requesting different types of training or assigning trainings to people. So you can create essentially a catalog of different trainings that you offer either internally or through external providers, and then just assign them to people, which allows you to do two things, right? One, keep track of, hey, who's actually doing the trainings, who has completed them, make sure everything's in order in terms of those things. And two, also the costs, right? If it's an external training where I have a cost of, let's say, $200 for every person who takes that training course, I can keep track of my costs on the training side of things very easily through that.
What kind of categories there? Like what? And you also mentioned external providers. Who do y'all integrate with, and what does the catalog look like for training courses and topics?
So you would just create your own catalog here. So we don't have a predefined catalog, right? This is more to keep track of your trainings. It's not a full learning management system. We do have basic integrations with some of the big providers out there. For example, Cornerstone. So if you are using that and buying, for example, video courses on Cornerstone, you can keep track of them here and essentially just have a link from here to Cornerstone for people to jump into those courses directly.
Okay. So as an MSP, we have a lot of clients. Is there a way for me to recommend that to one of my clients, or I guess I really wouldn't be managing for them, but is there any way to recommend, hey guys, we're using this pretty cool thing? Or is there any sort of management, anything at all from an MSP perspective? Or it's just, hey, just check them out?
Yeah, so I mean, obviously, if you were to manage this for your clients, then I mean that would essentially turn you into almost an HR consultant. So that would obviously, I think, a big step, big different skills to really do that. But of course, if this is something you would just want to sell to your clients, we do have a distributor model where you could buy, for example, licenses that you can then sell onwards to your clients for them to use to manage their teams.
Okay, yeah, that's good to know, because I know clients listen to what we say. So hey, check this out. So yeah, that's pretty cool. There's a distributor license model around that. So okay. Yeah, I don't want to manage anybody's stuff. I'm just interested in the profit margins and recommending distributing, so.
Exactly. No, I think it's a great way to diversify your revenue, to build an additional revenue stream. That's something we've seen a lot, that oftentimes, especially if you're doing, digital transformation or helping them with any transitions, for example, that's oftentimes the same time that they're also evaluating systems like an HR system. So if you can come in, recommend a platform like Factorial, it's a very easy upsell, and like I said, an additional source of revenue for you.
Oh yeah. Do you have like a list of integrations in general that you guys have that take a look at? Just who do you have that can integrate into Factorial?
Yes, absolutely. Yes, we have our marketplace where all our integrations are listed. So you can go in here and look by the different categories that you would want to look at. So anything from things like Okta, for example, to some benefits platforms, ERPs. We actually work very closely with both SAP and Microsoft, so we have very good integrations into Business Central and Business One. If there's anybody out there using those systems, then just on the general IT side, right? Just things like calendar, for example, you can sync your time off calendar that you have in Factorial with your Google Calendar, so any absences will show up for everybody on there. Yes, to Azure, which I mentioned before, Monday.com, all types of different platforms on here. And all of that is available on our website, FactorialHR.com as well.
That's cool. Yeah, that's exactly the case. I saw a few things on there that I think would be very interesting to IT pros and MSPs. On the marketplace one on the left, I saw in the category it said IT management right there. Yeah. What is?
Yes. So that's another feature that we're currently developing. This is to essentially keep track of all your software subscriptions and the usage for things. So if I jump here to the thing, I can see the different platforms that I'm using, and I can keep track of how many people I have on these platforms, essentially keep track of those costs as well. Gotcha. The idea is here that this in the next 3 months will develop into actually allowing you to manage those subscriptions for these different platforms, to create and delete users automatically from one centralized place. But that's still a couple of months out. That's exactly one of the things where our engineers are currently putting their time.
Yeah. And if you don't mind, I'm just looking here. So like I see spaces in finance. What's a space exactly?
Yes. So this is essentially just a tool to reserve different meeting rooms. So this is more, I would say, usually for companies with pretty big offices, right, that have different meeting rooms for them.
Okay.
That this is a tool to do that.
Oh yeah, this is similar to what who is like WeWork and all those guys have. You go on their site and then okay, that's cool. I like that. What's the finance aspect? Is that something that like plugs into QuickBooks, all that good stuff? Or?
Yes, exactly. This is something that syncs with the different ERP systems, but this is just something to keep track of your company costs, because in the end, if you think about it, in Factorial you have a very good overview of your costs, right? You have your salaries, of course, first of all, that you have all the expenses and spending. You have the training costs, for example, as well. You have the costs for the different softwares if you use the IT management module, right? So all of that gets aggregated here, and it will give you a nice overview of how your costs have changed over time. And you can even create different cost centers here. So have a breakdown by teams or by different offices, for example. So this gives you even more insights into the different finance aspects of your company.
So this is, I mean, honestly, you guys are more than just HR. There's office management. I mean, there's operations management. So there's a lot here. I mean, there really is. It goes beyond just, in my opinion, HR, because you have all this sort of stuff that you can do, and reserve an office space, rooms, and all that stuff. So, I guess last, but for me, when I see payroll, how does that work? Because payroll is a big deal. If I go to ADP, if I, how, what does that look like? Do you guys help facilitate and establish a payroll system, or do I need to do something on the outside and then connect it?
Yeah, so that's it's a great question. So that's we don't actually calculate the payroll. Reason being that most of our clients who come to us, usually already have a payroll system in place, right? This, Factorial is usually something that we see become very useful when you have 10 employees and upwards. But obviously, you have to pay your employees from the first employee onwards. So we don't want you to force you to use any particular payroll or switch your payroll, because oftentimes that's a very painful and very complicated process, right? So what Factorial essentially allows you to do, and this payroll module, by the way, is included in every version of Factorial for free. So this is no extra cost. This allows you to simply centralize all the data necessary to run payroll, right? So the information on the different employees, the timesheets, the time off, if there's any expenses you want to reimburse through payroll, right? All that information Factorial automatically aggregates for every single employee, and then can then be pushed out to the payroll system that you're using. So you can then use that to calculate payroll, and then we actually also have a very cool feature where you can then put the payslips that you've created back into Factorial very easily. So you just upload them, and the system will automatically match each payslip with each employee and let them know that their payslip is not available. That's
cool. I like that. Well, Victor, if you mind, I'm going to jump in here and just sort of put a stake in it, just because we're at the top of the hour. And I appreciate this. This was, I've worked with a lot of different HR stuff. So I like it. You guys were very well-rounded across some areas. I was kind of surprised you even did. But how would it, if anybody wants to, get a demo for themselves, they just, do you have a website address, right? They go in, are you having any specials or anything like that?
I'm glad that you asked, Garrett. It's almost like we prepared this ahead of time.
Let me share this one. There you go.
Yeah. We have this QR code. So if you're interested in learning more and having a follow-up call with us to see how we might be able to help you out, scan this QR code. We'll take care of you. And if you do that today, then we'll even get you the 10% discount on whatever subscription price you would have in the end.
That's cool. All right. I like that. And also, for those who are out there, definitely go to channelprogram.com and search for Factorial. You can check out the reviews from other MSPs and IT pros. because it's definitely different as an IT pro or MSP. We have different needs, and it's always good to see what others, who are in the trenches with you are saying. So it matters. So go ahead and check them out. And this is awesome. Victor, thank you very much. Any last words or anything, or you good?
I'm great. Thank you so much for having us. It's really been a blast. And I hope for everybody listening, we're able to give you a little bit of an idea of what you can do with a system like Factorial, and how this can help you take care of your people.
Yeah, definitely. Well, bro, thank you very much. I'm gonna go ahead and wrap it up, and I'll see everybody out there for our next demo days. Okay.